Well, I think you just introduced yourself at the beginning of your speech this time.
Oh, okay, cool.
Just a little bit.
Okay, we're
I
live.
watched. Okay.
All right,
Okay,
I'm gonna mute my mic so you don't hear me typing.
I am Kaylee, and my topic is on gambling. And I'll just go right ahead into my speech. In the tragedy of gambling addiction, the problem reaches further than those who are addicted. There are many who pay a price. However, it is the family members who bear the greater part of the burden and pain that accompanies gambling addictions. Consider this story. Life was wonderful, and so much gratitude filled her heart as she thought of her little family. It was rewarding to be a mother and having a husband who worked so hard to provide for his family. At the time, what she didn't know didn't hurt her. But the day he created an elaborate story about how her wedding ring disappeared, she just knew something wasn't right. All day she had searched for her ring, knowing she had left it in the jewelry box right before going to bed, just like she does every day. How could it have just disappeared overnight? Feeling desperate, she prayed for guidance. In locating her ring, she asked her two young boys to play hide and seek in search of Mommy's ring, but it was nowhere to be found. When he came home that night from work, in tears she asked him to please help her find it. Calmly he replied that he had dropped it off on his way to work at the jeweler's to get cleaned and polished, but had forgotten to pick it up on his way back home. With peace filling her mind that it wasn't lost, she asked if they could go pick it up right away. In haste, he said he'd call to make sure it was ready, and one lie led to another and another. In searching for answers, it was determined that her ring never made it to the jewelry store. Hurt and confused, she confronted him again, determined to get to the bottom of this, and eventually she learned the truth. He had pawned her ring in order to make a payment to his $10,000 gambling debt. Who was this man, she wondered. How did she not know what had been going on? The signs were all there, weren't they? Did her love for him and their family together blind her from the truth that now haunts her? By the second year of marriage, her husband was $10,000 in debt due to sports gambling. 18 years later, his sports gambling debt had exceeded $100,000. During their first 20 years together, more elaborate stories were told which he immediately recognized as lies and covers to his gambling addiction. One such story occurred several years after the wedding ring incident. He had come home late from work with a badly cut up and bloody face. Scared, she rushed over to him and urged him to their room where she could clean the wounds and where they would be out of sight from the children. Tearfully she cared for his face, sad to see the damage that had been done. Asking how this had happened, he explained that after cashing his entire paycheck, he had been robbed and assaulted outside the bank. Not only did they cut up his face, but they took every penny of his paycheck. Almost believing him, she picked up the phone and reported this crime to the police, but quickly realized due to his hesitance that this was just another cover-up. How, how then had his face become so badly cut up? Shocked, she realized the only possibility. He had done it to himself in order to tell a more believable story. Sadly, the children were no exception for paying for Dad's gambling, literally. On several occasions, they had found their savings wiped clean, every hard-earned penny gone, only to have Dad tell of the hardship the family had come upon and how as a family, everyone needed to contribute. However, as they have grown, they too have not succumbed to Dad's lies and stories. The National Gambling Impact Study Commission reported that it received abundant testimony and evidence that compulsive gambling introduces a greatly heightened sense of stress and tension into marriages and families, often culminating in divorce and other manifestations of familial disharmony. This family was no exception. After 23 years of marriage and an uncountable number of elaborate stories and excessive gambling debt, she had to go back to school to gain an education in order to provide for her family, since his paycheck was no longer even seen by the family. However, after completing a technical degree and being offered a couple of jobs, she was torn over whether to work outside the home, which would require her to work when her children were home, or whether she needed to be home when her children were home and be their support system, since Dad was not. In addition to the added stress she felt, their children were burdened with stress as well. Their 10-year-old daughter frequently wet the bed due to high stress levels in the house. Their 16-year-old son started smoking as a way to relieve himself of family stress. Their 18-year-old daughter started cutting herself and their two oldest sons, who are 19 and 21, no longer lived at home. And though they have not yet divorced, they have been on the verge for many years and have separated several times. According to the National Council on Problem Gambling, between 6 and 8 million adults are addicted gamblers. Symptoms of these gamblers include using income or savings to gamble while letting bills go unpaid, unsuccessful attempts to stop gambling, and arguing about gambling behaviors with loved ones. The dependency that comes from addictions is no different than the dependency of a diabetic who relies on insulin in order to function. Addiction is an attachment to an appetite of activity so strong that a person finds it difficult to moderate the activity despite the fact it's causing harm. Addiction destroys the thought process. It can change an individual from one who is rational to one who is irrational. And what used to be enough to reach the high they crave is no longer so, and eventually the individual is willing to do all sorts of things in order to reach that same high it used to bring. Gambling addictions destroys respect in marriages and respect in families. Addicts become selfish, and when a spouse is gambling, there can be no trust between husband and wife, and there is no respect for the marriage or for the feelings of others. Currently, there are no laws, international, national, or state, that address the issue of gambling. However, there are several organizations that have been created to address the problem. One example being the National Council on Problem Gambling, which has been mentioned earlier, whose purpose is to serve as the national advocate for programs and services to assist problem gamblers and their families, and whose mission is to lead state and national stakeholders in the development of comprehensive policy and programs for all those affected by problem gambling. So what can we do about it? Gambling has been legalized in 48 states, and the government has no jurisdiction over the internet where much gambling takes place today. It is proposed by the National Council on Problem Gambling that instead of fighting for or against the legalization of gambling, that we take a stand to advocate for those affected by problem gambling. We can do this by collaborating with a wide range of agencies and organizations to create programs for affected families and individuals. The end.
Good job. I liked it.
Thanks.
Really good. Are we supposed to give feedback to you, like, through this chat, too, or just in the evaluation?
I think just in the evaluation, and for the next, 5 minutes, you ask me questions.
Okay.
You're good.
Oh, my goodness.
So let me just put some last minute notes.
Give me a second.
All right, awesome. So I'm trying to think of questions to ask you. Have you, and this is kind of a personal question, but have you ever had any experience with this, with people you know or anything like that?
The story I actually told is a true story, and it's a family friend.
Okay, so yeah, you've had experience then. Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's really sad. I mean, looking at the family, you would never know from the outside, but...
You can never really tell, huh?
Nope.
So I guess looking at the opposing view a little bit, a lot of people feel as if gambling is a source of entertainment, and if they're not going to gamble away their money, they're going to use it on other means of entertainment, whether that's purchasing movies, whether that's, I don't know, there's lots of different things, purchasing drinks or other types of things. How would you respond to someone who says that it's simply a form of entertainment?
Unlike other forms of entertainments like videos and going out to eat or whatever, those aren't as addictive. But gambling, because of the chance that it has, you never know if you're going to win, and there's always a chance of winning big, it becomes addictive. And so doing it once a month and just, hey, this is just for fun, and you're in control, you know what you have to spend and not asking for a loan or whatever, our church is against it, but for others that aren't, that can be an okay source of entertainment. But it's so addictive because you lost money this round, but next round you're sure you can get money. Whereas other forms of entertainment, like watching videos, there's not really a chance at that. It's just you watch a video and that's your entertainment. I mean, you could be excessive in watching videos and spend lots of money on that, but gambling is a lot more addictive because of the chance in it.
So if you go to things such as like drinking, there's plenty of people who are addicted to drinking, and what places do is they provide support groups and different things for those who drink excessively. Gambling, there's lots of people that gamble, but I'm not sure according to your statistics, but I feel like the number of people who are chronic gamblers are probably few. And so should we just simply provide support groups and stuff for them rather than trying to outlaw it completely or get rid of it or prevent people from gambling?
Yeah, because like I said in the speech, a lot of gambling happens online, and our government can't control what happens online. So instead of being for or against gambling, you just need to create support systems for the families who have problem gamblers and for the problem gamblers so that they have a support system, someone to turn to that understands what they're going through. Because at this point, we can't really do anything to make it illegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't know that there wasn't any like government laws or government like
So right
policies
now,
or things like that.
only Utah and Hawaii are the only ones that it's illegal to gamble. But
Oh, really?
but you can do gambling online because the state has no jurisdiction on online. But like
Yeah.
there are casinos in Hawaii or Utah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you mind if I take the yellow card?
That's fine. Can you
So-
shut it when you leave?
I personally don't have any questions. I believe you guys pretty much covered what I wanted to talk about. The, like I
Awesome.
like how like you started off with that personal story. That really brought it in. It made it a bit, just because I mean I personally don't have anything like any family that has or any close friends that has that struggle. So it's interesting to hear like what actually like people go through with gambling. It's scary and yeah. So thanks for presenting that one.
You're welcome.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's scary.
Okay, should we go on to Jared or any other questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, Jared, you have the
All
floor.
right. Well, let me get mine ready. All right. My name is Jared Cambra, and my topic is on domestic violence. So I will just start. So I want you guys, each of you girls, to think for a minute that you are in a loving and caring relationship. One day, you and your significant other, your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you guys are having an argument. Things get a little bit heated, and out of nowhere, he or she grabs your arm and wants you to listen to them. At first, it kind of shocks you because it's never happened before, and then the next day you see a bruise on your arm, but you don't think anything about it. And your significant other tells you, "I'm sorry, it'll never happen again." Well, a couple days happen, and you guys get another argument. And this time, instead of grabbing your arm, they push you against the wall. And this continues to happen. They say they're sorry, that they're never going to do it again, but the next time it gets worse. Instead of pushing you against the wall, they slap you or punch you or kick you or do something violent to you. Think that if this was your situation, each of you are having this going on in your lives, and you think to yourself, I want to get out. That's what I'm thinking. Why are they not leaving? Why are they not getting themselves out of this situation? But it's actually not that simple. There is an article according to there's a government group that's called Project Connect, where they are a project or a company that's used to help prevent these type of situations from happening. They try to connect families or individuals that have been violated domestically, and try to help them find refuge to get safe, to become safe. The Project Connect team, they have a significant impact on the state level policies, including instituting assessment of domestic and sexual violence. They help to provide correct data to the government officials and to law enforcement to help them figure out ways that they can watch out for these type of situations that are happening. But they're happening a lot more than we think. According to Safe Haven, which is it's the largest victims service agency in the United States, they have some statistics for us about domestic violence. It says 1 in 4 women will experience domestic violence during their lifetime. More than 60% of domestic violence incidents happen at home. Women between ages 20 and 24 are at the greatest risk of becoming victims of domestic violence. More than 4 million women experience physical abuse and rape by their partners. 1 in 3 female homicide victims are murdered by their current or former partner every year. A lot of people think that only domestic violence happens to women, but that's not true. According to Safe Haven as well, they say men are victims of nearly 3 million physical assaults in the United States. This happens because us as men, we have a pride where we don't want to think that we're being abused by a woman, and so a lot of men don't come out about it. And so that number is kind of skewed because a lot of men don't report that they're being abused. The government has some different policies and different help out there for us. They have a website that's called helpguide.org, and what they are a great tool that helps people to see if they are in an abusive relationship. A lot of people that are in an abusive relationship don't want to think that they are. They kind of try to ignore that it happens, and so the thing that I really like about this is that it provides the questions and answers to people that have questions to see if they are in an abusive relationship. Something that hit me the most was that if you are in an abusive relationship, there is help. You are not alone. People are going through the exact same thing that you are, and you can find help. You can find solutions and be able to find refuge from what is going on. To answer the first question, why I said, why doesn't she leave, or why don't they leave the relationship, it's the question many people ask when they hear that a man or woman is being battered and abused. But if you are in an abusive relationship and you know that it's not that simple, ending an important relationship is never easy, and it's even harder when you've been isolated from your family and friends. People that are in abusive relationships, the male, if they're abusive, will try to take them away from their family. We need to find these people, and we need to do our part to be able to help those that are abused to be able to overcome these relationships that they are in. The government has these different policies, they have these different websites, and they have the different things out there for these women and men that are in these abusive relationships. I know for me that after doing some research about this, I know what to look out for now. I know kind of how I can play a role in helping people that are being abused, and that if I see anything, I need to report it. I need to let people know that this isn't right. This actually has become more prevalent in the sports culture in the United States because of Ray Rice, a football player who was caught on TV or on a video of hitting his wife, and it has been crazy to kind of see what has happened, and that he was kicked off the NFL, that he's never going to play in the NFL again, and and that it shows that domestic violence does hurt more than just the individual. It hurts those that are involved, hurts those that are family members of those that are involved, and it can be overcome. And that being able to get yourself out of that situation is the best possible thing that you can do. And there is help for us and for those that are abused. And we need to find the resources out there and be able to help those that are involved in it. And that's it.
Beautiful. 10
That's a pretty
seconds.
good topic.
I know, it's a good one. I don't know, it's crazy to think that this happens. Like, some of the stats I didn't think about it that much, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, 1 in 3 female homicide victims are murdered by their current or former partner every year. That's crazy. Like, I don't know. Sorry, I'll let you guys go.
No, it's crazy how common it is. It's shocking that people go through that. So.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think this is a topic. It's hard to kind of take the opposing view of this one. Like, it's
I know. Like,
So, like, as I was thinking about it, I mean, the only opposing question that I feel like I could ask is, in some abusive relationships, sometimes it's safer for the woman to stay in the abusive relationship. In those cases, I don't know, like, it's a hard one. I'm sorry, I'm trying to word it right, but like sometimes it's actually safer for the children and for the women to stay in the abusive relationship.
Yeah. Like,
How
there
would
was.
you respond to that?
I mean, it's weird to think that because it's like, how could it be safer for them? But I remember, as I was doing my research, there was this kind of like a PowerPoint that I was able to find that showed how in abusive relationships it starts out slow, like how I was saying at the beginning. It starts out very slow and it gets gradually worse and worse and worse. And for the women, when they get to the point where they're like, I want to get out, I can't do this anymore, the next thing that can happen is the person's going to pretty much kill them, which is very sad. But being able to be in that relationship and kind of try to help them overcome this addiction of abusing themselves or their partners, what was I trying to say? Like, the abuser can stop abusing with from help from doctors, psychologists, whoever. But if the wife and the children want their husband to overcome this addiction or overcome this problem, then there is help out there. And I agree, it's hard to kind of see the opposing side because you don't want to be like, yeah, abusive relationships are good, or, you know, it's just hard to be opposed.
And you also don't know, like, what it's going to lead up to. You know, like, okay, yeah, I mean, it could lead into death or something. You just never know. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
very true.
That's hard. I couldn't think of it for that.
I know, it is hard. I was trying to think of the opposite view and kind of like trying to search for it, but it was like, you can't, I don't know, you can't be really opposed to it.
Yeah. So. I think one of the most important things for your topic is educating others about abuse, because a lot of times it's simply the fact that girls don't understand abuse. I mean, like you said, it's women or men, and especially in the LGBT population, it's a huge deal. But I mean, a lot of times they don't understand, like, that any form of control is considered abuse. And so, like, even if someone, like, holds your hand too tight, that can be a form of physical abuse. And so, I don't know, I think the most important is just helping these women understand, especially the women, that, like, those are not healthy relationships, and you have to help them understand that, like, it's not their fault. Sorry, I could go on.
No, it's very true.
That's true.
So my question kind of is a little different. One thing that I was thinking of, in some of my other classes I've talked about this, but research shows that domestic violence is kind of generational. So if your dad abused you or your mom abused you or their spouse, then you're likely to do that. So how do you think we can help stop it from being generational? Like, how can you help people understand that there's other ways to treat a spouse or their children? Or
my opinion on that and my thought is, it's very true. Like it is generational. They just kind of grow up being abused, and so they just want to do the same thing. It's just that's what you do, right? I think it just starts with either the children or the wife being strong enough to want to stop, to want to get out. There's a book that you guys have probably all read called The Child Called It, and it's interesting that he turned away from what he was having. He ran away. Like you have to just get out. I think the only way to overcome it from the generational side of it is just someone needs to be strong. Someone needs to open up to someone that will offer help. And I think that's to me that's like one of the only ways that you can stop it. I'm not sure if there's any other insight to that, but
No, I agree. I think it's hard to want to change.
yeah,
You have to be strong in order to do it, and it's sad. Like I'm doing my internship right now at a place called the Christmas Box House, and that's where kids go before they're placed in foster care. And a lot of them are aggressive and they are abusive because that's all they've ever known. And so it's sad to watch them do what hurt them, you know.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's
All right.
all right. Any other questions or anything? Or
I think you did great.
all right, thank you.
I
Okay, so
think, is it me next?
Yeah.
Amanda.
Can you guys hear me at all, or is it still
Yeah, it's better
muffled?
now.
Oh, it's better.
Okay. I just got a new case for my tablet, so I guess it's blocking it. Okay. All right, so
Hold on, let me get the name on there.
Ready to die.
All right,
okay.
let me put myself on mute.
Let me know when you guys all ready. Okay. Okay, so mine was on pornography. And so pornography represents a significant and growing menace to families, individuals, employers, and community. The price tag on pornography is crime, exploitation, sexual assault, child abuse, and can end marriages and break a family apart. It is an addiction and can not only destroy the person involved, but the people that in that person's life. I personally know the harm that pornography can bring to families. I have an uncle who had an addiction, and I don't want to get too much information since it is a personal matter, but the end result was losing his marriage, and he also lost his job all because of this addiction and how it affected him. The Journal of Adolescent Health talks about the impact of pornography and the effect it has on the brain. Its sheer power and intensity create a heightened level of stimulation that your brain was never intended to experience. Because of this, the brain of a person regularly using porn can change and shape itself to resemble neuropaths similar to those of an alcoholic or drug addict. Michael Cusick from Relevant Magazine said, every thought, feeling, habit, skill, or behavior in your life has a corresponding pathway that fires in your brain. These pathways are designed to function optimally. However, as the brain's reward gets entangled in a tug of war, the brain rewires itself for addiction and new neuropaths are created. There are about 250 million pages on the internet based on pornography alone, and it's increasing every day. It's everywhere, including books, advertisements, billboards, magazines, movies, music, and television. It's scary to think how easy it is to have access to pornography, so not only to the parents, but also to the children. This leads up to how we could stop pornography from happening. It's hard to prevent because of pretty much the freedom in this country, and this doesn't go against, and it pretty much doesn't go against any laws that we have, but wouldn't it be nice to have some way to have it less accessible? There hasn't been any policy, laws, or programs put into place, but recently a petition was sent out. The proposal was asking the U.S. government to make access to pornography opt-in for internet users. The petition is asking the federal government to require internet service providers to block access to pornography by default. It reads, quote, "We are asking that people who are interested in porn should have to seek it and choose it. They should have to opt in for it by making arrangements to receive it with their internet service provider. Everyone else should be free from it and assumed opt out." This idea started because the UK just passed a similar request. In the UK, about 95% of homes are covered by the filters, according to the BBC. This means when the people in the UK sign up for internet, their settings automatically block porn on all devices. Those settings can only be changed by an account administrator. I do wish there was a better way to stop pornography. We have to start somewhere, and I believe this is a great way to do it. An example of how easy it is to have access, pornography can even pop up when you're searching on a Google search for pictures, even if you type in something very innocent. Unfortunately, the bill petition has not passed, but it doesn't mean we should stop trying. If this petition passes, then this would block even the search engines like Google from pornography. My family, we personally have protection on our computer, but it doesn't block everything. But with this opt-out, it would be able to block all access. I believe we should keep trying with this petition so it wouldn't be so easy to have this access. And if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, there are many options to look into. You could seek out support groups. They have many in the community, and they also have some online support groups and chat groups. I know personally that in our ward we have a lot of women that went through divorce because of their husbands were addicted to pornography, and they mentioned that there were some chat groups online that they were a part of to help not only the people that had the addiction, but the people who were trying to help them through it. You can also seek help through churches. You can go to any church leaders, and they have programs, discussions, or one-on-one sessions to help guide you through this addiction. And that's my speech.
That's great.
Thanks.
Yeah, great job.
It's a good topic to talk about.
I know, it was pretty, I don't know why, but I kind of had a hard time talking about it because, like, I have, like, I just know so many people who have, you know, had this addiction or are still dealing with it that it's just like, I know it's like how it affects the brain, how it affects people, and how it affects families. And then, but there are so many people in the world that are just like, you know, like even if you didn't have pornography, people could still have like problems with how they treat women and how they treat men, and you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just like crazy. People think it's like a normal thing and it's okay. Like the body needs this, and yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. It's kind of
So,
sad, like, I don't know, like on the church side of it, like because this is my topic that I'm using, like I've used for my papers and stuff, and
oh,
it was interesting when I went to like type in like ways to overcome addiction or pornography addiction, you know, it was like only the church, like LDS sites were coming up, like there isn't a lot of help out there that's not from the LDS church, you know,
yeah.
so kind of
Well,
interesting.
I know that's why I had a hard time because I wanted to talk about this. It's not my research one that like you're doing, but it's like I wanted to look into it because I personally know some people who are going through it and it's hard. And yeah, but I was trying to look at it as like not a church perspective, but you know, like a world, like how everyone could deal with it. And yeah, and I saw a lot of great information through LDS.org. Like, they had like a video clip of like how a family dealt with it and things like that. But it's like, I can't just go through. I don't know. I need other resources and stuff, and it was hard. So
And there's like a website, it's called like Overcoming, or it's like
addiction.
Overcoming Addiction or something like that. Yeah, and it's like only on
Yeah,
pornography.
I just thought of that when you guys were talking about your websites. I was like, dang it, I did not add that in my talk. I need to. But yeah, I heard that one, and that's helpful. That's a good site for discussion. So,
So I do have a question.
Okay.
And this is me taking the opposing view, obviously.
No, you're fine.
So in our class, in like my sociology classes, we were learning about things like the functionalist theory. And in one article, it compares pornography to prostitution, saying that it's a form of prostitution. It's paying women or men to pretty much sell their bodies. And according to the functionalist theory, it just says that this is there for a reason. It's to kind of solve those sexual feelings that men or women have, and in order to solve those feelings, one of the best ways is to legalize pornography or prostitution. And so I know those are kind of like prostitution isn't exactly your topic, but just in this article it was saying that pornography is prostitution. And as far as I know, prostitution is legal in a lot of countries, especially like Germany, and they find it as actually a contributing part of their society where they tax prostitutes, and it's a legitimate source of income for these women. So how would you, I guess my main question is, how would you solve that issue of these women needing money or these men needing money and selling themselves? How would you solve that to become more of a functionalist? Like, it's serving a function that they're doing this as their job. It's serving a function for the people that are receiving it because they're getting the support for their sexual feelings or whatever. And so how would you change that into a way that would make it still function?
I personally don't know because I've been reading a lot of stuff. Like I actually watched some YouTube videos of people like their personal views of it and things like that. And then they were like people's comments. You know, if you read like the comments on like YouTube's people underneath, they pretty much said like the same thing. Like it's just fulfilling what their body needs and things like that. But I don't know how we could. I don't know how to word it.
It is
Yeah.
hard because it's like, I don't know.
No, go ahead. 'Cause I really don't like, because I'm against it. Like, during this talk, I was trying to find things of like how you can stop it from, making it like kind of like you know, a law or something. I don't know, some way to stop it. But like you said, like there's laws against prostitution, and I mean there's stuff against like, of course, child pornography. But like, I just don't know how. I don't know how to answer your question, to be honest. Like, I don't. Is anybody else?
I'm trying to think of how I would answer it.
Yeah. So are you saying like it's their source of just income, or like are you also saying because it also fulfills like their needs?
Well,
Is
those
that
are the two different ways that it's like, I mean, prostitution, I mean, not specifically pornography, that's more of an internet-based thing in more recent days. But prostitution has been around since like the beginning of time. And so, I mean, the obviously like the functionalist theory says that it serves two functions specifically, one to address the sexual needs of people, and the second one to um, provide an income for maybe like lower income people who can't afford the different, like they can't get the same jobs or whatever, so they resort to prostitution, which can lead into pornography. So it is a form of income for these
See,
people.
I don't know. This is like totally probably like me. I just say like, isn't there something else that you could really look into? Like, there's so many options out there to like, to get an income but
I would say, kind of going along with what you're trying to say, Amanda, is provide them with other options. Like, give them other options. Like, these are choices of things you can go into. I know that some countries, they have really good educational systems that when you graduate from high school, you're either prepared for a career because your senior year was an apprenticeship, or you're prepared like you're already a sophomore in college or a junior in college, depending on how much you've done. And so I think just making other options more available, especially for the lower classes, because those are the ones that get involved in it for the money purpose. So I think just making sure that they know that there's other options and making them more available and more likable than would be the option of prostitution or pornography.
Yeah. See, you said it in more of a nicer way. Like I wanted to say like, just I mean, there's so many options out there. Like I mentioned earlier, it's just I mean, mine was on pornography, so it's a little bit different. Like prostitution, like yeah, like I just there needs to be there's so many other options out there. If there was like some sort of support system, some way that they can give out options of like what they could do besides this, like a lower, anyways. Yeah, we're just going in circles. So.
No, I think that was good. Thanks.
Okay.
So my question kind of has to go with pornography in a way. Have you guys heard of sexting? I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
So I have a friend that actually did that when she was younger. And how do you propose that we help them? Like, I know now it's illegal in most places, especially for kids younger than 18 to do that, or for older people to send pictures to kids. But how does that relate to how we help people with pornography addictions, if that makes sense?
I mean, like I mentioned with like the pornography, if there was some sort of way to do kind of some kind of protection on that. I don't know how they would be able to do that though, because there's so many ways, there's like texting, you can't really keep track of what they're talking about, and
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have parents watching over you all the time, because I mean, your friend could even be like college age, and you don't know, like you don't have to have like your parents or a guardian looking after you. So
Well,
I don't know if like if there was a way for like, I mean, for high school, 18 and under, like maybe if there was a way that, I don't know, it's hard because you want to give them that privacy in some way, but at the same time, like there should be some sort of, people need to look into that. But yeah, like some sort of like restriction on like phones or, it's hard. It's hard to figure
both of
out.
these topics are just difficult topics because it's hard to stop it because it's online and you don't always know that it's
Yeah,
happening.
like that's what I liked about this opt-in and opt-out is like you still let your kids kind of have that freedom online. Like they could do, they could still do Facebook, they could still do whatever they want, like tweeting, but like they just have a better protection on getting into that temptation. So maybe if they had something on phones and devices, but I don't know how they, if some awesome genius could look into that. But like if they had some sort of protection on their phones, like that would be cool. But that's weird. Like they can't really. I don't know. I don't know how they do that on phones. But that's a good question. Like I would love to have someone look into that because that's been an issue, and like cyberbullying and stuff like that, like things like that. It's just yeah. Someone should
I feel
look
like
into that.
the strongest thing you can do as far as preventing that is education. I mean, if you educate kids on it, I mean, so my internship is at a high school, and I'm running a group, and two of the girls in particular are involved in court cases due to sexting.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I think the most powerful thing you can do is just educate them and to let them know that, like, I mean, the percentage of texts that get forwarded, if you forward someone a picture of you that's like inappropriate or whatever, the percentage is like 80% that will be like passed on to someone else. And like it's just once you educate kids about it, and like even adults need it, I think that's the only way that you can try and prevent it.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So my question, it's hard to like think of a good question for this. Like, well, what do you think? Do you think the government really will ever implement some kind of law like this where we have to kind of sign up for it or opt in to have this? Like, what do you think is really going to ever happen? Like, is it ever going to be regulated? Ever going to be?
I'm like I have hope for it, but to be honest, I don't know 100%. But I mean, there is hope because, like I mentioned, the UK like passed this, passed that the same petition, and it's working out for them. It's actually beneficial for them. And I know there's other countries that actually, it's illegal, not illegal, but they have like restrictions on it too.
Yeah.
So, but I don't really think, I don't know if they could do that petition. That'd be awesome if they could. But like I mentioned, and it kind of goes along with Kaylee's talk, like you can't, the internet, like it's all open to everybody. They don't have really any restrictions on the internet. I mean, so, and like we live in a country where everything, it's kind of like a freedom of speech, freedom, of expressing yourself. So it's hard, but I wish there was some way that we could not have it so open to everybody, just like not so easy to have that access. More of kind of you have to go through like hoops to be able to get to it. And anyways,
Yeah.
I
It's just
it's
too
hard to
readily
say,
available.
and I wish there was, but there is hope. Other countries have, so.
It's too readily available and it's frustrating, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Any more questions?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. So I'm Amy. I'm doing mine on poverty. Okay. Poverty nowadays is almost a taboo statement. With the many studies done on poverty, we find two main causes of poverty: the composition of the family and education. Stephen E. Barkin, a professor of
Uh-oh.
People.
What happened?
I'm not sure.
Because it also logged out Jared too, right when she
Okay, here's
started.
Jared. Maybe. Are you there, Jared?
Yeah, sorry, I pressed the X on accident. So I'm here now.
No, it happened to.
Something happened because Amy's gone too.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
like I went to go like close one of my tabs and I closed this tab on accident. So
It kicked you both off at the same time.
weird.
Let's see if if you can get back
Yeah.
on.
I wonder if she even knows. She,
Yeah, because
well,
she's
no,
reading it,
seriously,
right?
because she said that she had the. No, she said that she had like you know, um, that one screen where she has to read her talk, and then
Yeah.
she can't look at two.
Yeah, I wonder if she
Oh,
didn't even notice.
Okay,
oh
one
my
sec.
God.
Let's see if I can message her.
That is funny.
Oh, shoot. I have to get going soon too. Oh, oh, wait.
I just sent a message to see if she'll hear it.
Bing.
Let's see what she does.
That'll suck if she gives her whole presentation and she has to do it again.
I know.
I would hate that.
We'll see. Oh man.
All right, I just have my in-laws come in, so I just need to check in on them really quick.
No worries.
Sorry.
We'll see if she comes.
I hope so. That would suck, because then she wouldn't be in the video
Oh,
and everything.
yeah. Hopefully she comes on. We'll see, right?
Yeah. I guess we'll give her 7 minutes to finish her speech and blah.
Oh man, and there's no we don't have her phone number or anything, right?
Oh, she's back.
Oh, awesome.
Are you there, Amy?
I think got off.
Oh, there you are. We lost you. Sorry.
What? You lost me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't hear any of it.
You didn't
I'm
hear
sorry, I
any of
didn't
it?
laugh.
No.
Honestly, we didn't hear any. We're so sorry.
You
Oh,
were
that's what we were
there.
saying. We were saying like maybe she doesn't know when she's still talking.
I had
You
no idea.
got kicked off.
Yeah.
My internet got kicked off?
I don't know. You and Jared got kicked off at the same time.
Oh no. Okay. Well, is it still recording?
Yep, we're still recording.
Okay, then I'll start
We
over.
heard like I at least heard like a minute maybe, but
That's crazy.
Okay. Well, sorry about that. I will, I guess, start over.
No, you're fine.
well, sorry that you have to.
No, that's okay. I feel bad. I just kept talking and I didn't know it was off. Okay, one more time.
Okay.
Poverty nowadays is almost a taboo statement. With many studies done on poverty, we find two main causes: the composition of the family and education. Stephen E. Barkin, a professor of sociology, described the distribution of wealth in America with the example of a Monopoly game. In a game of 5 people, normally each would get $1,500 to begin the game with, or $7,500 total. Now, if the game were more accurate to the distribution of wealth within the U.S., it would be a little different. Out of 7,500, the first person would get 6,668 to start with. The next player would get 705, the next 195. The fourth person would only get $15, and the last would actually start out $80 in debt. So what makes the difference of where you start out? It is your family. It is a known fact that typically the strongest primary social group is the family. It is the social group that influences us the most. Travis Hershey, a well-known sociologist, is recognized for his theory of social control. This theory explains that deviance, in this case is represented by poverty, is a result from weak bonds to conventional social institutions such as family and schools. Litcher DT did a research paper to understand the deteriorating economic well-being of poor children and the effects poverty have on children. He found that child poverty can impair cognitive development, physical growth, socio-emotional functioning, developmental education, increase school behavioral problems, as well as increased chances for malnutrition or other health problems, and creates more exposure to social violence. According to the United Nations, approximately 17% of our world lives in poverty. In the United States, we have one of the highest poverty rates in comparison to other developed countries. Our rate rests barely under the world average at 14%. According to the Idaho State Baby Facts, Idaho has 55% of children under the age of 3 who live in families with an income less than 200% of the federal poverty level. Time and time again, we see the economic benefits of a strong composition of family, or marriage. The Population Association of America did a study to identify differences between married families, cohabitating relationships, and single-parent families, and the effects on poverty. About 40% of single families live in poverty. 20% of cohabiting live in poverty, but only 9% of married families are in poverty. Within our country, there are many governmental and non-governmental organizations that are put in place to help individuals in poverty. However, there are a few that are meant to help families. For example, most homeless shelters force families to be broken up. They have men's shelters and women and children shelters. One well-known program that the government put in place is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, TANF, or in Idaho is called TAFI. TAFI is a program provided by the Idaho Health and Welfare Officers. There are certain eligibility requirements depending on income. This service is a cash assistance and work preparation service. It is focused on families and children and provides cash for things such as clothing, food, shelter, or other essentials. The program can pay up to $309 per month for families, but there is a limit of up to 24 months. There is a waiting list, and in most areas this waiting list is about 2 years. Also, depending on the state, the aid provided to adults, especially husbands, is limited. However, work does not always solve poverty, seeing as 70% of children in poverty had a parent or guardian that worked full or part-time in 2003. These are called the working poor. Now, how did these programs affect this finding? Well, in 2009, my sister was diagnosed with a rare disease called Devix. It is similar in form to multiple sclerosis. Because of medical bills, she was forced to move back in with her parents. She became unemployed due to her disease. She decided to see if she could get governmental aid. After the long process of applying, she was denied. She asked the lady who delivered the news if there was anything she could do to obtain some financial help. The lady told her that if she had a child, she would be able to help her. This shows that not only does the system not provide adequate aid for families, but it also encourages those struggling single women to have out-of-wedlock children just to obtain aid. Now, if our families are the strongest primary social group, the children born in poor families are learning poor habits. According to a study done on the effects and consequences of changing composition of the family, they found that those with more education are more likely to get married. Those who are less likely to get an education are the ones most likely to have children and less able to provide for themselves or their family. And these skills are passed on to their children. The Heritage Foundation also commented on education, finding that poverty, the rate of single unmarried person with some college is 30%. The poverty rate of a married person with some college is only 5%. This number decreases as education goes up, but the unmarried person is always more likely to be in poverty. The best proven way to reduce poverty is not through governmental programs or non-governmental programs focused on individuals. It is through the stabilization and institution of the family and proper education. As we strengthen and educate family, we strengthen the future of children, and we provide more opportunities and hopes. In all aspects of life, we need to provide aid that not only focuses on the children, but on families. This can be done through advocating through schools, communities, and within workplaces. Even the programs out there that do focus on the family, such as TAFE, need to be improved to better support, educate, and strengthen families. Now, in the game of Monopoly, it is an individualized game. There is almost no chance that the individual with $80 of debt will make it through a single round of the game. Life, however, is not the game of Monopoly. We do have a way to success, and that is not as individuals, but as families. The end.
Good job.
That was really good. I liked it.
Yeah, you actually like covered. I had questions, and you actually covered like my questions.
Sweet.
Let me see if I can
Let me try to
whip
get
one
my.
up right now. You guys can ask yours first if you want.
My question. Let's see.
I think it's terrible though. Your personal story, your sister's story. I just have to say that's awful. Like they do. I know a lot of family members who actually asked for like government help, and like you really pretty much have to fail in life sometimes to be able to have that access, and or like they encourage to have kids like as as a single mother, which is I think it's crazy, but
Yeah.
I was gonna ask questions regarding that about how we could be able to pretty much not because the government tries to help us out with like food stamps and Medicaid, but how can we be able to like push them to do better for themselves instead of just relying on all these things? But I feel like you pretty much covered it. So
Yeah. So like my question would be, what can how can the government educate more than just hand out money? Like what can the government do to help people actually out of poverty instead of just giving them money?
Well, there are many programs out there that are focused on educating, and even the TANF, a part of it is focused on educating families or helping them to become working and to like get jobs and stuff. But sometimes just getting a job isn't enough. The things that parents need are like parenting classes, especially like money management classes, as well as time management classes. And I didn't mention those in my speech because the main point of my speech is just the fact that we need to educate and help improve these policies. There's many, many ways that you can improve them. But the most important thing that you can do is educate people, educate them on how to have a healthy family. And even the children who come from families who aren't strong, you need to educate those children in school to be able to be successful, because otherwise they're going to learn the trade of their parents and they're just going to fall in the same pattern, and it's going to be a multi-generational problem.
Yeah. Do you think that the government just has to offer like free classes to everyone, like in the community centers or something? Like how do they get the word out about it, classes like that?
Well, I think the government does a pretty good job already of providing classes like that. I know there are plenty of resources available. The only issue I would say is having those resources available to people, having them known to people. Because, I mean, there are good things out there as far as those resources go, but I do think maybe if they were more connected to laws and policies and programs, that maybe they would be better utilized.
My question kind of goes along with what you just said, but I know that there's some, like WIC, that you have to take classes before you can even get aid, but there's a lot of others that you just get the aid once you fill out the thousands of forms. So for some, they're against having to attach like classes or anything with that, but others, like, I know they'll benefit. I know that some people, like I have a family member that she really could work, but because she qualifies for disability from the government, she won't work. So what can we do to help those people realize that's not the way of life? Because she is completely content to sit at home and do nothing and get disability money and food stamps from the government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so personally, I feel like food stamps should be available to a lot of people. Obviously, the number one thing we don't want is for people to go hungry. However, I do think that some other things and other governmental aids need to be reviewed on a yearly basis, and that is kind of the point of TANF. And so, like I said, there are good and bad things of all of these programs. We do need to find those holes in the programs and improve them. We need to find those holes where people are taking advantage of it, because there are so many different ways that you can take advantage of these.
Definitely.
However, if you're educating and encouraging people, then I feel like your education can help them improve and help them find ways of supporting themselves and progressing.
So do you think it would be more beneficial if all programs were more like WIC and they had classes attached to them, so before you could get the aid you had to take a class? Do you think that'd be more beneficial and more people would attend the classes?
I'm not sure if necessarily they should take a class before. My thing is, if people are in a poverty situation, they most likely need help immediately, especially for the programs that like TANF is meant to help. They're meant to help people who are really struggling. And one of the main issues that they have is when these programs are helping, they're only helping maybe the mom and the children, but they leave out the husband. And if the whole family is provided for and supported, eventually the family will be able to move up and to be able to come out of poverty. My primary goal is not to change the whole health and welfare system, because I know there's plenty of issues with that. Although I do think that focusing on those in poverty, because there are so many, we need to provide enough resources for them so that they can get out of poverty. There's a difference between being on governmental Social Security and other government aids, and being in poverty and actually needing the help.
How can we better distinguish between the two? Because a lot of people that are receiving help that should be meant for those in poverty, they may have enough resources. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's certain ways that they determine that. The most important is through their socioeconomic status, depending on their income, their assets, and their overall wealth. Their education and a lot of other things kind of contribute to that. And just simply providing them with education of the benefits of being off of government programs could be one way of helping people not take advantage of it. But there are ways of determining between what are people in poverty and what are not people in poverty. And I do think that some of those ways that are good about like TANF is it's a temporary assistance. And they can only receive help for so long. And so those people in poverty, they're not going to get on the system and just stay there. They know that they only have it for a certain amount of time. And that's kind of the reason why TANF was started in the first place, was so that they could prevent people from becoming complacent on government aid.
That's cool.
You did a great job.
Yeah, really good.
All right.
Okay, do you guys have anything else, or are we good?
I
think
think we're
good.
good.
What are we going to do about the other girl?
I don't know. I guess she'll probably to the teacher and ask the teacher what to do. So I'm not sure what we can do.
Yeah. Okay.
When I was out, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my computer's being weird. But when I was out last week, she just told me that you could go through discussion boards. So maybe if she can like post a video of hers, and then we could just respond. But the thing is, it's due on Saturday. So is it due Saturday or
Due today.
Yeah. Oh, it is due today. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
She'll probably just have to talk to the teacher and figure it out. I'm sure she'll find a way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I'll post the link.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
weekend.